ربنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب ربنا إنك جميع ناس ليوم لا ريب فيه إن الله لا يخلف الميعاد. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is related on the authority of Thawban radiallahu anhu that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, if a Muslim says the following supplication 3 times in the morning and in the evening, Allah has made it incumbent upon himself to please him on the doomsday. I am satisfied with Allah as my Lord, Islam is my religion, and Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam as the messenger. This is a very beautiful hadith. Again, I am satisfied with Allah as my Lord, with Islam as my religion, and with Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam as the messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. I made a talk the other night. It was one of the groups in Canada, and it was a reasonable program. Sometimes, though, when you only have a few minutes, like I believe I took about 25 minutes. When I was in Iran several years ago, we had a conference, and I realized that this conference was different. This conference was to functionaries, to leaders, to managers, and what have you. And so it was recorded, and high officials came to speak, but it wouldn't be, the auditorium wouldn't be full. It would be like 10 or 20 people, that's it. In one lecture, they gave me 20 minutes to speak, and I said, I have never had a speech that short. And I was shocked how much I could get into a 20-minute talk when I had to. It's just you don't repeat yourself. You don't do like I'm doing now, giving allegories and stories and what have you. But this concept of arsenal of Islamic movement, these are very important subjects right now. Because the other day I spoke on the subject of one of the subjects that we used to have a slogan, Magbag America. In fact, it's still pretty popular right now. Death to America. But we didn't mean death to the American people. We meant death to the American system, the system of oppression, the system that is a tool of Zionism, the system that is oppressing people in South and Central America. Death to the system that is a international system that is the head of the UN and does not listen to the UN at all. If they have a vote to stop the oppression in Lebanon, it'll be 120 nations voting one way, and then it'll be the United States votes the other. And that one vote carries the day. So we talked a little bit about export of the revolution, a model for the revolution, and the survival of the revolution. And this is one of the things I'd like to mention now. Not only survival of the revolution, but survival of the revolutionary ideas. And then our survival here. See, right now, when this period of struggle that we're living through now, let's say, well, when I came out of the penitentiary, it was right at the time, it was 1980, and I came out right at the time of the beginning of all of this. 1979 was a revolution in Iran. It was also the invasion of Afghanistan, when the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan. The look now about the picture of Islam and Islamic peoples is a lot different than it was in those days. Their attitude and the blessings that we have acquired and the trauma that we have gone through. See, a lot of people don't realize that if we just walk back, if we just take Afghanistan for the last 40 years have been a tragedy of bloodletting. It's been a big deal, They haven't had any peace. And there's people who are middle-aged who have never been, you would have to be over 40 years old or 50, you'd have to be about 50 years old to remember a time when there was a peace and tranquility in Lebanon. You could pull it off at 5, but you would only been 5 years old. But to remember when Afghanistan was on the main hippie trail through that part of the world, people would go there. Now the white kids they would be going for Afghan black and all of that. There was some bad hashish that they had, and that's what the newspapers thought the young white kids was just going there because it was on what they call the hippie trail. Hippie trail my behind. They was going there to get high. But they brought money, and it was a different world for the people of Africa. It was different. It was this, the people liked the white Americans. They brought money, white European, everybody. They just came, and it was like, it was no big deal. But after that war started with Iraq, after that war started with Soviet Union, it changed the whole flavor. And 10% of the population was killed. And that, can you imagine 10% of the people was killed? I guess in America that would be like 30 million people or something get killed. It's a few people. 10% of the people, if it had 16 million people, 1.6 million people was killed. And it was unbelievable. Then they had a few months of semi-tranquility, and it came back. And it continued on up till the day before yesterday. In Iran, they had September 22nd just passed. That was the anniversary of the Iran-Iraq War. 8 years of war. Bloodthirsty war. Trench warfare. It was World War I style. Goodness gracious alive. Unbelievable. And it was the United States that started all of that. And Soviet Union. If you just were to look at the United States, if you say it was the United States that supported the Iran-Iraq war, of course it was Saudi Arabia, it was Egypt, It was mostly all the Gulf states, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, all of them was on the side of Saddam Hussein. But that's 1 million people dead. Then they came back and maybe in 91 or something like that, it said. It was something like that same type of number was killed, but not quite that number. But they had depleted uranium and they had all that stuff. And I remember they gave a number like 750,000 people was martyred. And that old lady, what was the old, yeah, she said, they asked her, do you think that was worth it? She said, yes, I think it was worth it. And don't forget, they used depleted uranium. That means there was thousands of babies born with 2 heads, 3 feet, 1 foot. It was unbelievable. And you knew it was real because, see, some of the women here went over there and they would do like the men. They would stand there on those tanks and take pictures and photos. And they had babies when they got back here. And that's one of the best kept secrets in the United States, is all the deformed babies from the women soldiers that went over there to fight. I don't want to go off the subject, but today's subject is Arsenal of Islamic Movement. One thing I was mentioning this other earlier struggle before, because the people were not innovative. The Iranians were not innovative because instead of using trench warfare, that's the worst type of warfare to use with semi-modern weapons. You know, they just slaughter each other, you know. There were opportunities to use other forms of warfare, like just flying over and attacking from behind. They didn't do that, and it's no blame on them for not doing it, because they just got, they didn't have an army. They had the Iranian army, which had been pretty big. When the Shah left, a lot of the generals were killed. They had to leave too. They didn't have an army. They had the Revolutionary Guards, but they didn't have an army. They had to build an army on the spot. They had big modern weapons that the Shah had been given. They didn't even know how to use them. They had no idea how to use them. So they had to learn how to fight and learn how to use weapons that they had. And they had to do it without a military structure. They had to build all of that. Now, as time went on, now they have a serious military structure. They have one of the best in that part of the world. They produce 80% of their own weapons, and they're producing better and better and better weapons. You know, they getting in the money. Well, not in the money, but they getting good. So right now, it just means Yemen. It just means Syria, right? It just means Iran. It means Iraq, you know. But now, with Lebanon and the other regions, the Islamic Republic is beginning to share their technology. The more they share their technology, the more they use, the more reports they get back, the higher level of weapons they're going to have because they're using them. And they'll be able to knock the Israelis out of the box pretty soon. So one of the biggest mistakes that they made was kept a firm pressure on the Islamic Republic. The next big mistake they make, they're making it right now today. They're saying, forget the JCPOA, whatever it is, right? And that means the Islamic Republic has to improve. I'll mention about us later, but the more pressure they put on you, the sharper you got to get. You got to come up with stuff because they're not giving you no breathers. Okay, there's nobody else in that region that produced their own weapons. Egypt is a big country. Egypt is as big as Iran. But Egypt does not produce, it gets the money, they send so many billions of dollars to Egypt, but Egypt has to turn around. They can't spend that money on themselves. They have to buy the old weapons from over here. Right? So it's a surplus. I mean, they get to buy, they got to buy all of this stuff, that they have here. They can't spend it on bread and butter, stuff like that. No. That's not what it's for. So actually, everything that's designed in that military-industrial complex is for it to feed off of. So, if you want to buy some of our old weapons, okay, we'll send them down to South America, right? Because that's all they're going to get is old weapons. I used to see it when I was down there. Up here, they was changing to different types of weapons. The police, and I saw all them old 38 specials down in South America. This is where they all went. They use them down there, use them till they wear out. Smith and Wesson, they all down there. Probably some of them are still there. Old six-shooters and all that are down there. All the old Abram tanks that the United States could push a button and get rid of it, they're all over everywhere. And the thing about one tank, they could build a university in Africa for what the cost of one tank. I mean, this is an old statistic. With one of the new tanks, no telling, they could build a system, hire all the teachers, and do the whole show. One tank from America. Okay. On the subject, the arsenal of democracy, the arsenal of Islam. That was the name of America. They called itself the arsenal of democracy. And in a way there was. Does anybody remember what period that was? It was 1939, 1940. See, they had an agreement. They had to find out how to help England. And so they developed a Lend-Lease policy. And they had a policy where you couldn't help people like, they had a policy now, you're not supposed to help belligerents. And of course they do down help with the Saudis and everything. But they're traditional liars, they make the lie so they can always do this is our lie, we can do what we want, Oh, we're not doing that. You can say what you want. Okay, but anyway, let's move on. Today we have to have We mentioned it a few days ago. But this idea about the arsenal of democracy brings into mind, the arsenal of Islam, is about the resistance movement. The resistance movement today means we have to be innovative. Just like Iran was not innovative in the 1980 to 1988 Gulf War, the global blockade that we have now on the Muslims, right? All right, we have to run those blockades. Blockade running is one of the oldest things in history. And everything and all our people are set up for blockade running. Okay, now this goes back to the Islamic Republic of Iran. When they was calling the U.S. the arsenal of democracy, that was at the end of the Depression, right? So they was able to pull it off. When the war ended, the whole world was almost destroyed, except the U.S. here. They didn't have a bomb dropped on it. Yeah. Okay. Since these wars, petty wars, they're not petty wars. The war in Iraq, count up how many people was killed by the United States on a big lie. Weapons of mass destruction. Where are they at? Look how many people they killed. And they call themselves a democracy. Whatever they got, we don't want it. No, sirree, I'm telling you. Look at Afghanistan. They came over there 20 years ago. They came over there after Bin Laden wasn't there. It doesn't make it has nothing to do with, probably Bin Laden was dead from Jump Street. He had liver problems. He was going to the hospital and getting treatment, right? You can't get no liver treatment, whatever it is, up in the Tora Bora in the mountains there. They just destroyed Afghanistan. And then they hired a few people who are going to fix Afghanistan. You're going to fix it. Then you're going to leave, and you're going to leave all the weapons and tanks and helicopters. Not leave it. You're going to bring it over there just before you leave. You see what I mean? And why it even looks like that they're giving it to Afghanistan to fight the Iranians. But here's the thing. We have to remember a lot of things that they do, they won't be able to count on the results. A lot of things they do to other people, a lot of things they do to us, they can't count on us acting like they planned for us to act. And right now, they left all those weapons for Taliban, whoever they are. They can't use them. If they do use them, everybody's got their eye on them. You see, they didn't realize that instead of Afghanistan and maybe Iran, a few more to be isolated, they didn't realize that everything, by the time they go through one change, 20 years in Afghanistan, the people of Pakistan will be up to here with their stuff. Be up to here. Because all the fallout goes on them. The fallout. And Iran gets blessing. When they was having that war, and there was all those people getting killed on the war front, the Afghan refugees, they had 2 million refugees in Pakistan and 3 million in Iran. And in Iran, they went to school, they got college educated, and that was 40 years ago. And do you know how many, if you walked in the streets and saw anybody digging ditches, you could tell if they had top clothes off, you could see by the way they dressed, they was Afghanis. Just like Mexicans would do and Latinos would do a lot of the work around here. That's the way Afghanis was. So they got a whole crew of people who at home speak Dari and other languages, but they have gotten a superior education, better education than anybody in that region, in Iran. Okay? And then they have this new crew that left. It's leaving now, today. Okay? They're going to be, and they are right now, in camps along the border. Well, if the dumb Taliban get out of line, they can get their nice training. Instead of Iran being tricked into a war, the Afghan themselves go right back across the border and fight. This second or third generation of Afghans, the ones that's going back now. When Afghanistan goes through that transition and the people gain control, think of the Afghans that they have in Iran that have a high level of education. Remember, and talk about women. Women in Iran, 60% of the people in the university are sisters. Right? Now, imagine the high tech, imagine Iran and agriculture, where it is now. And the Afghans that are there and the ones that are coming. The ones that are coming, automatically, you go back as workers and what have you, but some of the others can go back as educators and trainees. And Dari is very close to Farsi. I mean, so, and they just languagize them a little bit. And out of all of the suffering and pain that they went through in Afghanistan, and with Iran the way they are, and agriculture, hot houses, and all of that stuff, poof, and their own weapons technology, they're basically the same people, you know, and they off to the races. Okay, but people have to have that feeling right now. Okay, remember, we're over here under different types of pressure, but we're looking at everything in a global. See, we're looking at all of this because we're global minded now. We know that we're not all alone here, right? And we know that they're not all alone. We know that this is a global, call it a universal struggle against right and wrong, against good and evil. And we know that. Okay. Now, other people may think it's about their own little nation, their own tribe, and what have you. And that's no problem because people think on the level that they are. But they have to have people in leadership positions, right, that help them work toward ultimate higher goals, right? So that even if the people thinking they're working for a tribal nationalistic goal, those people who are really thinking and motivating and managing are challenging their behavior, right, to help that national situation, although it's happening in a tribal area. Because as of now, that Islamic movement that we used to talk about really exists now. It exists because these dummies produced it. They produced it. They broke Iraq down and took Saddam out, or put him in a position to weaken Iraq and to destroy Iraq, so that as Iraq is rebuilt, it has to be rebuilt. But it should be rebuilt on a modern, what we know about modern building techniques, right? Where the houses may look the same, right? But we don't have, because it's a desert environment, big bricks like this over our head in the house. So when there's an earthquake, a little bitty teeny earthquake, them things fall and kill us, right? So we might have strong walls, big wide walls, long as you want, but light roofs. So when it falls, it hits you. But hey, it's just like stuff falling on your head in California. Ain't nobody going nowhere, right? Anyway, to use the Western powers have taken us back. They say we done bombed Afghanistan and Iraq back into the Stone Age. That was their goal. And they have destroyed a lot. But when they destroy that much, then you have to rebuild. And you have to use all your resources. And when you rebuild not on that, it might be on the old style, but in a new configuration. Right? And so that's the world that we're living in right now. That's the world that Syria, have anybody seen any of the, Syria is just destroyed. So it has to be rebuilt. And then there's other things that we can reach out to the world. We're not reaching out to the world. It's like a global fundraiser. We're not using our talents, what we have. Okay, soon as these things, we can go to people who are big and well structured, and we can say to each country, would you help us rebuild our roads, say Afghanistan? And would you donate, that's part of your national project, to help us rebuild our roads and rebuild a super duper highway system in Afghanistan, say, where we can get goods and services. Then we take another crew that's from that environment, say like Iran. Iran and zoomed up in agriculture, not only in weapons, but agriculture. So Iran raised their hand, we'll help you do this, that, and other. Somebody else, Iran could help them with this too, dams and what have you, to use the water properly. Big rivers go right through Afghanistan, but it keeps on going. All right. New delivery systems of water and what have you. We're saying that if Afghanistan can become Greenland type, well, at least along the rivers, right? And pumping processes, you can build pumps, that can pump water uphill and over hills. You've got dams there, right? With dams come fishing industry, right? Stock it with fish. It's simple things that they all can do it themselves. What do they call them? Hatcheries? So that in 5 or 10 years, and all the stuff that the Afghans throw away, they can ground it up and throw it in the water so the fish can eat it. Right? Of course. Fish eat greenery and stuff like that, right? So if you throw corn, the rotten corn away, the fish will eat it, right? If you throw anything in the water, the fish is going to eat that, you know, right? So you've developed a fishing industry. It's unlimited what you can do. You can stock them boys with, well, they don't eat crabs. Some shears don't eat crabs. You can do what you want, right? You can do what you want. I'm telling you. All it is they have to meet and coordinate rebuilding. You know, after war, what do we want to look like? What was we wasting before? We built these other big, huge housing projects and tracks that they didn't use heat properly. They didn't. Well, they did use. They were built. If they were built naturally, they were built. You know, where the flow of wind and what have you. But now you want to build whole projects, people. So you want to have green areas. You want to have this. You want to have that. You can do all of that now. The U.S. have already destroyed it anyway. So why leave Basra as a sewer? Right? Yeah, why leave it as a sewer? Why not reanalyze, remake, and rebuild, restructure the whole show? You could do it. All right. In the meantime, you're in war. This thing about blockade running, this thing about supporting, if you have groups that have been trained already to do it, that means if you have speedboat crews in, in Iran, I mean, and they build it up. It's not like it was before the wars. After the war, they saw what works, and they don't build no big. One of the brothers that was an admiral, actually, when we went to visit Bandar Abbas, actually it was a 32-year-old admiral. That's what they had to do in those days. He was telling us about one of the battles that they had. In this battle, the Revolutionary Guards on the water was wearing out these big ships that the U.S. had. And the U.S., and then here comes a frigate that was built by the United States. It had 1980s back technology on the ship, right? And at the Pastoran was telling them, stay out of this battle. Get out of here. Go home. And they thought this was the most modern ship in the Iranian Navy built by the U.S. And they sunk it just like that. And they told them, you guys go home, stay out of this. You're a sitting duck. They built you, everything. You can't do nothing with them. Get out of here. And that's what we were having a briefing. He's on the map with charts and everything, and he's saying, this is way back when. 89, I guess, something like that. And he's telling us, we're meeting with a whole board of, in those days, you had direct access to like a lot of officials because they considered us as allies, so it wasn't secret information. And then they were more loose than they needed to be. But they tightened up. Anyway. So, blockade running, support mechanisms. When we say Iran is the arsenal of Islam, that means it should be the collection and distribution point to feed the people of not only Syria and Iraq, but Iraq and Syria Iraq can get stuff from anywhere. But Iran has to be the central point, especially the people that's still fighting or that's in danger, like in Lebanon and like in Yemen. In other words, now, what we're doing right now, we have to tell them that because they're still under pressure. And they'll rebuild the things that they thinking about. But they're not thinking about blockade running. If they was, they would have did it already. Because everything is there, right? They can't stop them from blockade running to Yemen. They can't stop them. How? Right? You can't, they got too many boats. Look at the coastline of Yemen. Good God, nothing you can do about it. Okay? They could have ships from Indonesia park out there in the Arabian Sea or wherever they want to park. They could either offload it to Iranian platforms and then they take it in, have runs, have like a train station coming in, loading up, and you're going all day long, taking food, if necessary water, right? Medicine, especially medicine. Of course. And they got good Iranian doctors too. You know, in medicine, Iran makes a lot of progress in all this nano stuff, you know. Yeah, the smartest students here has been Iranians. Some of the smartest. So and then Iranians have a certain mentality. You remember how they're looking at this history. Well, since biblical days, well, we were conquerors. And sometime during our history, say during this 4,000 or 3,000, easy 3,000 years, well, we done ran things. Sometime then we have 200 bad years. That's the way they have, and then they come back. See, Iranians are looking at this as like, what? We just had another 100 bad years before. We're on the way back. That's the way they feel about it, because they're the Persian Empire. So what? And what's happening is showing that that's what they do. And not only all members of the old Persian Empire are under that Persian influence, Afghanistan, Termidi, up in, all of that, all of those people are coming under Iranian influence. Yeah, they're coming under Iranian influence. So that's why I titled this Arsenal of, what do we call it? Arsenal of Islam. They are the arsenal of Islam. They are. And they have been for the longest. Right? Every successful challenge to Western domination have come from them directly or people they support. And now look at it. The thing is, the thing cannot hold too much longer like in Yemen. They done already held out through all the bad time. And now you look at things, it's going their way. And within a reasonable amount of time, it's on them. They in pocket. Then they'll need rebuilding. Somebody has to handle a global fundraising, or they could have national fundraising events. right there at the UN, use it for something. Look, here we are. They could have every Yemeni group of politicians, whatever they have at the UN. They fundraise the whole UN. They got to get something, right? They got to get something, whether it's in water conserving projects or the highest mountain in Yemen is 12,500 feet up. That means all that water runs downhill and goes away because nobody's built any dams to hold it. Nobody's diverted that water out into the desert to let it sink in and sink in. If you divert it out there forever, pretty soon it's going to pool up somewhere underground. And pretty soon you're going to store it and you can green. It's the whole, let's call it the greening of Yemen. Yeah, why not? They got 12,000. It's only just a corner of it. But that means there's a lot of rain up there. Guess what? It's not being used. It's just not being used, right? All right. Iran had built so many dams that now is taking water from the Euphrates, And Syria had built so many dams is taking water from the Tigris and Euphrates. It used to feed all of Iraq. Now it ain't much water going down there. And they got, man. Anyway, but in that part of the world, water is needed. Huh? The signs of the last day, I don't even read it anymore. Because you will begin to think today is the last day, right? I say, I done had enough. I can't, if I read it, I can, but I saw, oh no. And if it talk about oceans boiling over, and I saw, oh man, no, not that. And then you look out the window and whatever it's talking about, you look out the window and there it is, right? And I'm getting ready to go to California too. I said, no, man, I don't know. Anyway, when there's these big tragedies going on, it's also big opportunities. Out of all of these tragedies that's going on, it's our opportunity too, right here in America. Right? We could be passive and say, I can't do nothing. Or we could get in there and pitch. After all, the Americans are really aunties and uncles and everybody, right? So we ain't doing nobody no favor, and we just doing it's good for us, right? If America goes, so we're going to have to develop, right now, independent institutions, independent like the people, right? Okay, if trees hold back billions of gallons of water, it ain't no rule against us building huge nurseries and planting trees, right? There's nothing, the government's not going to come. You can't plant trees out here. This is our forest, man. Or we'd have to have we'll have blockade running. If you say we can't do it, here's the idea. If you're going to save the world, you have to save it. Bump them. You can't ask them for permission. They're not going to give it to you. They can't, right? We have to do this. Well, we got to do it. You're going to ask permission to the troublemaker. He done already showed you after years and years of behavior. He ain't going to do nothing, and you will be drowned. Your children will drown. They will choke to death, right? And ain't nothing you can do about it. If you're going to go ask him, like right now, they're going to have a conference next month about climate change or something, a couple of months. You got to do stuff start now. You can't wait. That's why we're like up in arms and ready to go, because we were using, like they have that saying, you got all the watches, but we got all the time, or something like in Afghanistan, right? Okay, it's the same thing with us. We've been cruising for years. They can't put, everything they do is trying to put pressure on us to make us do this, make it. I ain't doing it. I'll just wait. I mean, they was assaulting us. They're doing everything, taking our property, anything they can think of to make us do that. The hell with you. We're not going to do it. Yeah. And we didn't do it. We haven't done it. You're going to need money. You know, I say, I don't move nobody into this. I ain't moving nobody in that and nowhere else till I get ready. Not this just being arrogant, but no, we're not going to do that. We're going to do this when we get ready, right? Okay, why? Because anything related to them and their management and their organizational structure is a detriment for humanity. It's a detriment for the climate. It's harmful. Why? Because all the people, they looking at all that technology and they're sending people on a space ride. And they could go to the damn, what is it, roller coaster? That's what they're doing. You want to go out of space, right? And come back. That's what they're doing. All that money, all that, they're not saying, this goes back to history. Hundreds of years ago, when they discovered the New World, supposedly, right? The world of discovery, 400 or 500 years ago. Oh, they was going everywhere. Then they come over here. What they should have did was solve their problems, all their stuff back there before you bring those troubles over here. And they brought them over here. Yeah, they had little tribal wars and hassles with it, but they were manageable. When Boss Man got over here, he brought global fitna, high-tech fitna. You know what I mean? He just brought all of that, right? Now, if you let this, they're already talking about Space Force. If you let that clown go out of space, what the hell do you think he's going to do? The same thing he did here, because he's stupid. Tell the truth. All the people at the end of time in their arena, whether it's Sodom or Gomorrah, wherever it was, right there, the people of Salih, all of them, they had signs that's coming. Moses, okay. Everybody, all them signs is there. Everything is there. And them people just kept right on rolling. They kept right on rolling. We ain't listening. We don't care. What do they say now? Would they need, if they had any sense, would anybody need any more signs of decay than they have now? Tell the truth. The forest fires in California, each forest fire makes it worse. The trees get burned up. The trees not holding no water in there. It's going to get dry. The desert keep coming, all up where it used to be forests, right? On and on and on and on. Then they're getting stupider and more out front stupid. You know what I mean? Just the dunce cap syndrome. The dunce, and they wearing it. Or emperor with no clothes. Emperor ain't got no, the boss man ain't got no clothes, right? Obama ain't got no clothes. What's his name? The old man here, whatever his name is. Biden, he ain't got no clothes on. He just up there butt naked and going bald and old. Nothing, old, ain't no fool like old fool. Right? Tell the truth. And them fools up there, all of them, Bill, Hillary and them, they getting older and dumber. The reason they're getting dumber is because of things they're doing or let go by. Okay? So we have to fix that. This is different than a revolution. Revolution means you're going to go down and change the government. Keep it. You want it, you keep it. We're going out here and do it ourselves. That's our job. To help mobilize people. Okay? Leave them people alone. Let us do it. That's the message for the American people and the global people. Nobody told them that yet. It's too simple. Make them stop you. Make them come down with bulldozers, aircraft carriers, whatever they're going to do, right? You can't do that. You can't rescue nobody, right? Make them do that. Right? Make them do that. Yeah, just put pressure on them. Okay, I know this is simple, but guess what? Who else is putting it that way? That's our part. Our part wasn't to sit here and go through all of this, that, and the other, and it just goes up and out the window. No. Somebody had to go through it, and we write about it and talk about it. Watch and see. All this stuff will be in nice pamphlets and books so people will know. Forget it. Let's do it ourselves. It's not new. It's in all of our old pamphlets. You know, what the letter to the churches, right? Letter to the churches. We have everything. The religious people, what do we have? We have the institutions, we have the people, and we have the wealth. Let's do it. Right? Let's do it. Okay. If they want to go to war with somebody, go get the dummies, they're dummies that are dumb enough to go. We're not going. We're going to plant trees, going to clean up the ocean. That's what we're going to do. Join our army, God's army, the angels' army, anything like that. Let's call it whatever we want. Right? That's our contribution. So all of our talks and all of our writings will be along those levels. Then there's a million zillion other people think the same way. Right now, they think the same way. The only thing, nobody just came and said, hey, wake up, home. Let's do it ourselves. You're going to vote for that idiot, and he's going to get with the other idiots, and they're going to say, we'll pass a... This thing will be done burn up. You're going to wait on them? Go ahead. You go over there and wait, and we'll go and start straightening up. See, they can't stop us. This is what humanity needs to do now. Organize itself to save itself. And it's a good global program. Right? The fat people will go out and work in the forest and run around so much, they're going to get skinny and they're going to feel great. Right? Yeah, they're going to feel great. And the people that are depressed, which is like a lot of people, oh, I'm depressed. Well, go out, get you some fresh air, and do something that's helpful. And you know it's helpful. What happened to your depression? It goes away. This is real. This is therapy. This is health. Right? And all of those things that we're doing, well, what is the world going to do for food at this time? Because we got to cut down. Well, we'll cut out junk food so there'll be no French fries. I mean, no potato chips, something like that. Well, maybe some black market potato chips. Because people have been eating them so long, it'd be like alcohol. People have been drinking it, it'd be like prohibition. But think about it. Let's make that the prohibition. Having people doing something slick, putting too much salt on the potato chips. And the potato chips, not Granny Goose and all that, they're Negro potato chips. Right. We got to think like, because we say, no, look, we don't have enough sugar. You don't have enough sugar. It's 10 damn teaspoons and every 12-ounce Coke, right? We got too much sugar. We got 10 times, let's say 5 times as much potatoes, sugar, right, than we need. And we're using all that land to grow that stuff, to sell stuff we don't need. Remember what people looked like in the movies 30 years ago? People was little, they was skinny. Everybody, and especially, I look at them white ladies in the movies from the 50s and 60s, and they look like clothes hangers, straight, right? People is healthy, what we used to call healthy. They say Marilyn Monroe, 36, 22, 36. Man, you can't find nobody like that now. Negroes got 22-inch arms, 24-inch arms. These muscle guys, their arms is bigger than the people's waist used to be. Okay, anyway. If you get out and work, it's not civilian conservation camps like Roosevelt had, but a new system of people and cars, we don't build no more for a while. Let them run out. Why? So you can get you a cart and push it to the store. It's too far. Well, put a couple of more close by for normal stuff you need. Remember people used to borrow over the back fence eggs and butter and stuff like that? They'll bring it back in style. So you run out of milk, you don't have to go panic. You get to know each other. You know everybody. If you got to knock on 3 doors, man, what y'all got up in there? I shoot. Right? People are not doing it because they broke it down where you don't do that. It's not the culture. You go out and you got to drive up 500 miles to the store. Right? Oh, there's no doubt about it. Cooking at home, community cooking, all of that. But it's not only that, though, but also the style of cooking you have to make is illegal. If we're healthy type, right, you declare McDonald's unhealthy. You said it's unhealthy. It's an unhealthy joint. You can't, it's just like the guy, there was a health guy on radio. This over on 8th Street, so that must have been about 20-something years ago. He said, breakfast cereal? So if you want nutrition, pour the cereal out and eat the box.
I've heard that elsewhere too.
Huh? I heard that was 20-something, 30 years ago he said it. Somebody like that. No, but it's true. It's the box is made out of wood. Said if you want nutrition, pour that stuff out and eat the box. Right? Okay. No, all of this stuff is simple, but it means we have to change our thinking and our whole approach. These people in ruin, they didn't went too far, they're not going to fix it. We have to fix it, that's all. We just have to fix our world. They can't stop us. They can't stop you because it's one or two people. But mass movement for good. That's where we're headed. Mass movement for good. And the good thing about it is that the Negro gets to play a part because he's written himself into this. Yeah, that's all. We're going to play a part. We're going to play a good part. We say play a part because we don't believe in this old time stuff. We're going to get in there to the rescue party, the special party that's going to save everybody because they ain't got enough sense to save themselves. No. Those people, they'll kill everybody, right? Because they're the in party and nobody else is. And they're not going to trust nobody but the ones that's in their dumb party. No, this is rehumanize the world. That's what we're going to do. And we can show the world it can happen. Why? Because we've been able to take abuse and all the stuff that they try to do to you to make you like them. Yeah, we got stuff. Yeah, we can show it can happen. We can show them everything. Just like, what's her name was saying, Dr. Franklin was saying about urban Negroes against the city Negroes, the country Negroes against the city Negroes, right? That was in '69. We knew that then. We knew about neighborhood and solidarity. I learned it in prisons because if you wasn't with your people, you'd get whooped up pretty bad. In other words, your crew is, in those days, it was Mexicans, white boys, and Negroes in prisons in California, right? And I didn't know what I was doing, but them people, they knew what I was doing. In 1959, the white man told me this up there. I was at the littlest kiddie joint they had. We went on hikes. Boy, it was Frico Ranch School for Boys. I'm telling you, we went to Beaver Swings and all that, where the fresh water running from up there in the mountains. You could drink it, and we had picnics. We had night hikes. There's no fences. It was Frico Ranch School for Boys. And hey, it wasn't that bad, come to think of it. So, but we learned some things. We learned about some environmental things. And guess what? If you leave the human being to develop naturally, he will develop the things that he need or they need, right? And we learned that the fresh water just comes from, I bet you can't we drank the water in the streams and everything. Yeah, because there's still fresh water. You could see the hills up there. You could see the mountains up there. You could see 100 miles away. We were in the foothills. We was in the gold country in California. That's called the foothills. In fact, Angels Camp was right a few miles away. San Andreas was the closest town, and all of that. All them old California towns. You ever read about the frog jump? The frog jump. What's his name? Mark Twain. The frog jump was a few miles away. We went to the frog jump, and remember, we was in jail, but the point I'm making is this. There's a certain type of innocence, well, let's call it strategic innocence, that you have to do the things that we want to do. We have not allowed boss man to shape and fashion our thinking. Because if we produced the world based on what he done did, we would just produce a pretty mean place. We'd produce the same world he got, except we would be in charge. Nah, ain't gonna work. This is what I'm saying. That we, us, the Negro, is gonna play a part in this. And it's all just clear to see, you know. And everybody is getting ready for it. The young people, what do the young people see? You old folks that mess things up, and you're trying to borrow some more money that we'll be in debt. You're going to live your last few years out, right? And you're going to have us in debt. Well, not have us in debt. Can you imagine you get out of college and you got a $200,000 loan to pay off? Well, $100,000 loan. $50,000. Don't go to be a doctor. You're gonna have, as 8 years or so. You're gonna have $1 zillion. You're gonna have to cheat the people. You got to. You can't. First do no harm. You can't do it. You're gonna have to cut the wrong leg off the people. You're gonna have to put something in them to make them sick. You got to, just like a car mechanic. You got to charge him a good right price. Well, how are you going to live? The price costs you $1 zillion to live. So you got to cheat. Everybody has to cheat just to stop from drowning. Who wants to live in that world? Right? Okay. If we would allow I'm not going to call them dummies, but Muqtars, the Abdul Maliks, the Hashim Alauddins, and all these people. These people are master degree, PhD educators taught by the white man. And they follow the white man. They follow boss man big. All of them. All the people that's been working against us, they was counting on one thing. That when we get this person by themselves, they're going to fold up when they don't see no way out. I was just saying, these niggas is crazy. Why? Because I had the blessing to be raised by boss man, state raised, and he was always sending me to the hole. Well, by myself in the hole, right? And what am I learning in the hole? That whatever you're going to do, start it by yourself. You don't need them. Evidently, you don't need them because they're not in the hole with you. And everybody else is cooperating just because they can stay out in that world that the white man got them in. And everybody here is doing what they do to stay a part of the shoot. No matter how stupid it is, I need this to, the white man. I said, well, just a damn fool, that's all. It's not your fault. Everybody else is right with you, a bunch of dummies. But remember what we said. We have to teach our children that you have to stand on the stage for a whole hour in assembly with everybody looking, laughing at you and pointing at you. And then you come down. Why? Because you realize all that laughing and pointing at me and making fun, it's all over. It don't hurt. If it hurt, if you think what them niggas saying about? Well, you got to stay there. That's why we said in the 80s, when a child graduates from our school, they should get a trip around the world, and before they do it, they have to stand in the assembly for an hour by themselves and have everybody whispering and pointing at, look at it, and talking about them. So they find out it ain't nothing. That should be a part of your graduation. So people will learn, y'all talking, not bump y'all, but it doesn't make any difference, right? Those are things that people never learn because of peer group pressure. People can't stand it. Okay. Let's say we have acquired the knowledge of all of those things, and then that means we can teach what we have acquired. We can help teach what other people have acquired. They can teach. And this cadre of new global reconstructionists are people with certain attitudes. They don't have to be perfect or anything like that. They got something in them that they've learned, and they want to share it with others, right? So they say that don't make sense. Well, right here in D.C., out there in Berkeley, all over the country is people that are thinking like us. They just not together yet. That's what the next few years is, getting together with all those people. We just bring what we have acquired, right? We have acquired some of the keys to human salvation, so we bring that. Human evolution, we bring that. We don't want to run nothing, right? We don't want to lead. That's one of the first rules. I don't want to be the chief, Oh, we don't. All right. So other people can be sad and despondent. We're not sad and despondent about it at all. We do want to get in the mix before Boss Man finishes the thing off. Okay. I'll move toward a close and I'll go over the same thing in a couple of days. Boss Man right now belongs on the suicide watch. I think we said that before, but I just want to. Suicide watch. You got to come by and watch because he's cutting his wrist. He's doing everything he can to kill himself. And of course, you have to go along with him because he's running everything. If he was just going to kill himself, that would be okay. But, he's not. Boss Man don't do that. Boss Man kills everybody and everything. Birds, bees, Remember how many birds it used to be when you was a kid? Yeah, you're lucky to see one or two now. Where they all go? Birds. Yeah. Okay. So, Boss Man, America's on the suicide watch. And I'm going to talk about this later, but does anybody know the concept of the mother tree?
Yeah, you touched on it before. That basically trees talk. Now, I didn't. When I read it, I didn't read about the mother tree, but I did read about how trees communicate using fungal networks.
Exactly, right.
I heard the lady who discovered it.
That's right. Yeah. Go ahead.
The Wood Wide Web, that's what they call it. But yeah, I heard the lady.
That's wonderful. That these dummies, what tree do they cut down first? The mother tree. Oh, that's a big one. Shoot, that's all the logs, man. We're going to be rolling. They cut that down right away. And then they wonder why. Because I used to wonder too. All they got to do is replant, and why don't they grow the same? Until they get up big enough and they start working that underground web, right? As they come up together, they'll be able to share. But if they had one big one, mother tree, every so much space, can you imagine? I was wondering why the forest was so healthy like that. That if that tree is not getting any sun, the mother tree gonna get up so high it's gonna get the sun, flip it around and send it down to the roots. And then the other thing is telling the mother tree, "Oh, I'm sick. I feel bad. I need something quick." So the mother tree just say, "It's hooked up. You need this," and give it to them, right? These dummies don't know. Think about all African Muslims and other people always made some type of dua and thanks to the earth. And they all had respect for the earth too. And these dummies, I try to catch one of them cutting down a tree and let me stop, make a dua, to cut the tree, no. That's just a tree. It's wood. That's all and it has its worth. Oh, this thing's so tall and it's worth $6,000. That's it. It's not only here, Indonesia, Malaysia, cut down all the mahogany trees and all that. And the bigger the better. Okay, but so you have the idea. We'll go over it later. But that mother tree, that's deep. That's what we have to become and what we're doing. That we can link up with all the people and whatever mechanism, we just have to use the mechanism to transfer. We have to be able to figure out what sickness they got. Lack of sunshine, arrogance, stupidity, you know what I mean? Physical poverty, whatever it is, that we'll help them work it out. Yeah. It has to be a natural phenomenon like that. Okay. We talked about things fall apart and all of that, Tet Offensive. Resistance war number 1, 2, and 3. That we're in a resistance war. And regional war 1, 2, and 3. But it's the blockade running concept, the Berlin airlift concept. When I have here all the stars line up, well, they do. Everything in the universe is lining up to say, you got to fix this, and you got to fix it pretty quick. You can take your time if you want. So that's why we're not on a kickback schedule and we just take it easy. Although we do take it easy in our own way. Because we're thinking about longevity too. Not that we designed a longevity program. Because if you listen to the way we talk to police and the so-called what everybody else would take as chances and we allow this to happen like that, you would easily see that longevity for living a long time personally was not the goal, but to be around a long time, a time enough to acquire the historical realities. Malcolm didn't get it, and neither did King. They just didn't get it. And our movements didn't get it. They didn't get a chance to be around a long time. They just jumped right up. Freedom rides today, riots the next day, Black Power, the next, you know what I mean? And it was quick. Do you notice how quick that was? That was quick. Nobody else went that fast. Everything, and that means that evolution, it wasn't evolution, it was more revolution without a cause, something like that. Okay. Strategic alliance, that's important because we have it now. So it's Iran, Hezbollah, Syria, Iraq, Yemen, Afghanistan, we'll even call it, Russia and China, and technically the whole world. Here's why. I've talked to many Iranian politicians, and they say the people of the world tell us, all the time that they've been watching us, and if they would have did one of those things that they did to y'all, just one of them, not all 10 or 100 that they did to y'all, if they did one of those us, we'd be finished. So you have to just imagine, what do the people of the world think about it? And now think about, see, these self-clowning mechanisms where boss man clowns himself. Anybody would say, why would you do that? Right? He did it because it's his time to go. He's too big for you and I to do anything about it. Right? He got us watching. He got somebody in the kitchen, somebody in the bathroom, somebody outside, everywhere, listening and smelling for anything. So he has to bring himself down. And you give him time, he will. He is. Nobody is doing this stuff to him, right? Ain't nobody doing nothing to him. Nobody is destroying his allies but him. It was Trump one day, and now it's Biden. Trump say we don't need y'all, no NATO, no this, no that, and then they come back, Biden said we love NATO, we love this, and then he goes and do all this stupid stuff. In Afghanistan and stuff like that. And everybody knows that Iran was right and all them other JPOR is wrong, right? And now U.S. just going to stall. Iran's not going to sit there and beg them. They're already rolling. If you notice, they're rolling right along. They done almost wrote boss man. They say, man, by the time we get anything from you, this treaty will be extinct. It'll be old. And boss man think that he's messing their life up by stalling. Not stalling. He's forcing them to get bigger. Forcing them to think. You know what I mean? And that's what he's doing. He's forcing the world to become smarter and sharper and better. Better. And good. Okay. Are there any questions or comments about anything? We'll go over this again Sunday, I guess, when we have it in more order. Blockade running. Arsenal of Islam.
I don't know if this was like sarcasm or not, but a brother said, be nice to have a black Islamic movement at Masjid al-Islam, your organization, / national community / Iqamatuddin movement, etc.
Iqamatuddin? Yeah.
He's basically saying, it'd be nice to have a black Islamic movement.
At our masjid? Well, You know, the guy used to be a part of Dar al-Islam with the red beard. Y'all might have saw him over. Okay. He has an organization called Iqamatul Deen. We have it in all our literature. Iqamatul Deen is established the deen and what have you. They have a lot of people just sitting around watching, and people might think, why don't we have a better mechanism to get our word out to the world? Well, we'll do that at just the right time. Yeah, we'll do that at the right time. We'll do it when boom, boom, boom. If you get all this stuff out and people start listening to it, boss man will knock your behind over. Boss man will take your butt out. Sure he will. He sure will. I mean, ain't nobody scared of him, but that's what he does, right? So, sell wolf tickets, talk about them, outline everything, step by step, how many times, over and over and over again. Redundancy. Yes. We have redundantized this whole movement. As far as, what was he saying about Iqamatul Deen, establish a black something here?
Yeah, he said it'd be nice to have a black Islamic movement at Masjid al-Islam, your organization, comma, national community, comma, Iqama Tadeen movement, comma, etc.
Okay, those are all fine. You need to have those things in order to, they're stepping stones. If people want Iqamatul Deen here, just come on by. Let's get it going. Yeah.
It sounded, to me, it sounded like he kind of put the call out. Oh, okay. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't sure. I thought
No. It's fine. It says here, look, people are not as direct as we are. Is so much good that need to be done now that we're not running away from anyone that wants to do good, even if they trying to do bad under the name of doing good. We'll give it a try. It don't bother us. No, we can't get started and then feel frustrated we didn't succeed. Bull crap. If Allah wanted to succeed, he can take the stuff that people are trying to do wrong and turn it to right. They can't, Okay. The other thing is that I'll put it like this, basically. Here's one of the ideas. We go to California. We get all this legal stuff going. We get it in the courts. And we get our big settlement, whatever it is. Doesn't make no difference, however big it is. We get that. And then we use that as a flag, not as is to make people see what they can do, but we're not going to give them we're going to give you $1 billion salary to do good. Probably we ain't giving nobody nothing. I don't know what we have. That'll be just there to let see, we could do this or that. There it is. You're just going to do good. And they'll do good for 100 years trying to get it, right? Because everything is volunteer. It ain't nobody getting no salary. You know what I mean? It's volunteer. Yeah. So, and then never underestimate an idea whose time has come. You know why stuff worked in Oakland and didn't work nowhere else? Because it was an idea, that place, that time, the right place, the right size at the right time. East Oakland Enterprises. It probably it didn't work nowhere else. Because it never happened. I mean, you'd never heard of it. It just didn't happen. And Martin Luther King went the same year, on probably the same day we was thinking about it, in Chicago. And it didn't work. He went there to develop an economic, right? It didn't fly. In Oakland, it flew. It was the disguise. We had to change up how we look and, make ourselves harmless. Harmless, the Negro with all them pretty clothes and rings and stuff. That nigga there is, you don't have to worry about him. So they let us roll for 2-3 years. By the time they realized, wait just a minute, something's wrong here. Everybody in East Oakland is driving cars. They're buying houses. They're having stores and shops and all of that. Young Negroes, there wasn't nobody over 25. Everybody was under that. And it was working. It was just okay. That didn't happen nowhere in the United States but Oakland. Right along with Black Power, they talking it, but we did it. So remember what's the name's discussion on Black Power? That you get people here, people there, and they do this, that, and another, right? Of course, he said to vote. We don't vote. But we ain't against it. If somebody you want to vote, go and take your butt down there and vote. Vote for Charlie Chaplin, anybody. It's fine with me, Right? I ain't going to use no energy trying to tell nobody if they ain't got sing. But anyway, our stuff worked in Oakland. That's why the government spends $40 or $50 million a week right around here. And Boss Man done spent $100 million right here in D.C. since I've been here. He done manipulated everything. No, look, I already know it. It don't make no difference whether people agree or because I'm going to do the redundancy thing so many times that it's going to be pretty close to a fact, just not to take no chances. So we're going to go over and over and over again. That's what redundancy is about. Because they'll use the words sensitive, paranoia. Paranoid will roll the dice. Boom, 7. Roll the dice. 7. Boom, roll the dice. 7. Now, is I'm paranoid and them is like 10 sevens in a row? Well, it is 10 sevens, right. And this stuff that we're talking about, boom, how it happened, boom, how it happened, boom, how it happened. Shears come, run their mouth, then they gone. Everybody, right? No. It's actually a reality. But we have to develop this. This is not just fall off, the thing. In closing, we have a contribution to make. And we can see it pretty clearly. We've already made a contribution. We made a big contribution because we didn't show the world, like one of the Iranian brothers said on the program we was on TV. He said, Imam Musa is saying that in America, he was back in Iran by then. He said, Imam Musa is saying that in America, he's there. Okay. Yeah. We feel honored to play a part with this. The last thing I'll say, sometimes when you hear the old stuff and the old folks and what they had to do, they had visions and dreams. We have to carry it to its fulfillment. Sure, happily. No matter what, Boss Man's pretty mean old fella. He's pretty, give him time. He's pretty mean fella, I tell you. Boss Man is mean. And it's not getting back at, for our people or anything. But plus, Boss man's children, they tried it once. You notice we was talking about that thing where to go to San Francisco with flowers in your hair. Them white people tried it. Them kids tried it. They said, bump this, man. All this stuff y'all doing? They said, man, it don't make it. Pretty soon, they killed them 4 kids in Ohio. And you see the girl leaning down over the boy in 1970. And the white kids came to us after that and said, well, y'all got a big job ahead of you. Y'all, the white kids, when they saw Boss Man, they're not playing with and they fancied they tied, put them side to clip that all that hair off, took all them flowers out of their hair and stuff like that. And within a few years, when you went either to buy something or you went to court, that was your lawyer. He knew what you was talking about. The judge, after about 20 years, the judge was out there running around too before, and the judge was buying half of your cocaine that you were selling. And everybody knew what was happening, but they said, hey, man, I'm not going to get killed for this. I don't want to change the world, make it a nice place. But my daddy and them is serious. They'll kill your white behind. And you keep talking that stuff, right? And that's why they came there and said, you guys got a lot of work to do. You guys, yeah. That's all right. It's true. And, hey, you got to be ready for that. That's why I'd like the little white girl from Sweden, wherever she's from. She has Asperger's. You know, that means things got to be perfect, I guess. And she said with that, I just wish everybody had Asperger's. You know, she was saying that something is wrong. Maybe I got Asperger's. That, hey, maybe y'all need to have Asperger's. The way she was talking, you know. But all those people, this is like every time in history, there's a great opportunity and there's a great challenge, you know. And I'm going to close with this. I thank Allah for allowing me to be here during this period, because I got a chance to do the other one, 2 or 3 things, and everybody wanted to do those things. And I look at them things, I said, that stuff wasn't nothing, man. That was the craziest thing. I wouldn't do that again for all the tea in China. But I'm glad I did it. You see what I mean? So all this is coming, there's reasons that Allah let a few escape. You know, for a reason. He let the ones escape that's supposed to do what they're supposed to do. So if there's no more questions and there's no more comments, أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم.